angle there, nice kick.
Here comes Jordan.
Jordy come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, your boys are back.
Hello.
It's nice day.
Yeah, beautiful day.
Yeah, that's it.
Here in Sydney.
We're going for that El Nino period at the moment, like, just rain, but we got a reprieve.
It is, yeah. It's warm. It's SPF 50 weather out there. But,
for some. All right. Wait, let's get into it straight out of the bag. Your boy fighting on Rebellion.
Yes.
The 10-year anniversary show.
Yeah.
Of all shows.
10th anniversary of the big one.
You're fighting Corey, the cowboy.
Yes,
Wow.
I'm fighting the cowboy, Corey Dean. It's good. Like, we go down for it's my first fight on Rebellion. Get to jump in on what is shaping up to be an absolutely sick card. Turning it up for...
The girls are turning up.
Yeah, a lot of really good female fights. And I get to go and fight one of the Rebellion regulars in Corey, which is really good to just, for my first time out on the show, jump in with kind of one of the main, I'd say like the main Rebellion stable of fighters. I put Corey in there. He's had some sick fights on Rebellion. I've been in the house for some of Corey's fights, or one of Corey's fights on Rebellion. So it's good. I've been watching Corey fight on Rebellion and off Rebellion for a number of years. So to get to go down to Melbourne and jump in at that level is a big opportunity. I'm very excited.
It's good, fighting a veteran like Corey. When was Corey's last fight?
I believe, I could have my timelines mixed up. I think Corey and I are coming off of fights with the same gentleman. I think both of our last opponent was Jamie Allain from PTJ. I think, again, I could be getting mixed up, but yeah, I that's the last fight I recall.
Solid fight that was. I was in the house for that one.
Yeah, you were too. Yeah, good fight. Yeah, so it's I think it's a good match in that sense, for where we're at. A little bit out for lockdown and whatnot. It's been for Corey, obviously not easy down in Victoria, but yeah, got the news for this one. It's funny that when the gyms reopen and things, it's you kind of look to, I don't know, I guess I don't know, you kind of want to find your feet again. Getting back in the gym and then just kind of see what happens. But I think it was the weekend before the gyms reopen. Aram texted me and he was like, you better be ready to put your foot on the gas as soon as we get going, because we're matched with Corey for Rebellion at the start of December. So it's been it's been full speed ahead, from the first second the gyms reopen. But that's how I like it anyway. We didn't have to screw around. And I think for me, I'm one of the lucky ones because I know first, I think it's worth calling out. It is so sick watching fights get announced again. Yeah. As the days go by, Andy's announcing the fights for Siam to Sydney, which is coming together. Unreal. And the Rebellion 10-year anniversary fights are coming out one by one. And it is so sick after the year that we've had to see these fights. They're back-to-back weekends. Awesome that, I'll be able to go and compete in Rebellion, which is a big goal, but then also the following weekend be up here just watching, enjoying a sick show for Siam. So the energy I love that, we're coming into the part of the year that things tend to wind down, coming into November, December, but it's it's massive.
Yeah, we're getting a big ramp up for this end of the year.
Yeah, it's we got it's kind of like the gyms reopen. I think the gyms here in Victoria kind of reopened similar time frames, and it was all right, we're just going to condense, half a year into 8 weeks, but it's awesome. But yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones in that I know some of the guys I train with and a lot of the guys I talk to as it was the case the last time we came out of lockdown, it can get very... Am I fighting? Am I not? And I think at this time in the year, it's tricky to stay motivated for a maybe fight, especially when we've had, the circumstance of the year have been so, you've been locked down, you haven't been able to go do anything. So the idea of it's difficult. I respect anyone who kind of keeps themselves kind of disciplined and ready for a fight. For the chance to fight without having it can be. Yeah. So, lucky that, as the gyms came back, I just got to know from the first day. I had a date, had an opponent, and like, you know, and a very exciting opportunity. So I had no problems. Man, it's not usually something I have too much trouble with anyway, but I can see the complication for like, I feel for people who really want to fight and they're not sure if they're competing, because it's very difficult to kind of keep, especially after. It's kind of the whole like in and out of lockdown thing is kind of tiring. Like it's a lot easier to just write the year off, especially at this point where it's like you might be able to fight in December. There's that temptation to be like, well, let's just call it Christmas and fight next year.
That's it. Pass that can.
But yeah, I didn't have to worry about whether it was a maybe. I got to just go all in from the very beginning, and like it's amazing to feel like that energy coming back, like being in a gym full of people who are getting ready to fight. Like there's nothing like it. I think that's like my favorite thing about competing in Muay Thai is like when everyone is on and the energy of it. So like, yeah, I'm super excited. I'm like, what are we, 4 weeks out this weekend, something like that. So like we're well in the thick of getting ready. Weights come off no problem. Obviously, that's always the sticking point coming out of a lockdown, but it's not been tricky. Yeah, I'm good to go. It's just like, I think there's not really anything good about a lockdown for a professional athlete in their 20s, but like if there's one benefit, I think, like, because you know we've done this before. The feeling when you don't have, like, you know, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Sort of like that feeling of, I don't know, we take it for granted. Like you will often hear, actually I've said it since fights have come, since the gym's reopened, when I'm getting ready for a fight, just being like, I fucking hate this. I hate this. I don't want to do it anymore. I never really mean it. I always say it. You know, I'm just being facetious. But yeah, I think like to not fight for a long time, like that kind of energy of like you're very getting like really hit with like the just being grateful for even the shit that sucks. Like it really is sick to just get back to work, and the energy is really high. I think everyone, even, you know, trainers have been missing getting guys ready. The fighters have been missing it. Like it's just like it's a very high energy kind of fight prep, and I'm very, very excited to be a part of this Rebellion card. Like I've wanted to fight on Rebellion since I started fighting pretty much. I think this is a very good match. I think people are pretty excited for this one. I definitely am. But I like the style match. I always kind of thought Corey and I would fight, just because that's how it goes. I think, you know, the Cowboy is a real warrior. He's got a good action style.
He's always looking to step up. So, like, you know, it doesn't matter who's in front of him.
Yeah.
He's going to take all comers on.
Yeah, I see a war for this fight. I really like it. I really like this match.
Like, you know, it's like you see the card for Rebellion from there. It's like, looks great. So the side of Sydney is. And like, you know, because even like with the side of Sydney, even seeing some of the stuff with Andy, like the people post, it's like, can't lie about it. Like, you know, it lost a lot of people in terms of like, you know, just dropping off the face of like, you know, off the fight radar. Like, you know, from names I thought other names would have been put in, but no, like, you know, but especially like I see Andy's doing from there, Simon Sydney. Look, it's going to be a pretty healthy card in general. With
great card thus far.
Development days, amateurs, and pro card, pretty good.
Well, it's kind of like, I kind of like the way that coming back from a lockdown, it almost strips things back a little bit. Like this is very much like an all-in kind of show. Juniors are going to, the Sound to Sydney show, that is. Juniors will be fighting during the day, and then first-time novices, all the way up to like a main event of Yolanda Schmidt versus Diandra Martin, which that's a world-class fight. That's a genuine world champion in Yolanda, one of the best we've produced one of the best Australian produced fighters in however long, ever. You know, like really top end fighter against, you know, a real up-and-comer in Diandra. That's a world level fight. You could watch a fight of that caliber anywhere in the world. Like, it's kind of cool to see it in this format where it's going to be a Sunday afternoon and you will watch like 2 8-year-olds first thing. Like it's it's an outdoor event as well. Yeah, like it's just got this, like, it's there's a charm to that, I think. Like the way that I was not involved. Eddie had to had to get a show going, right? And like you've just kind of got to, given the circumstance, you know, I think mine's 7, so Sound City would be exactly kind of 8 weeks from the gym's reopening. So like there's time for one show, right? Like you're not going to get two with where Christmas is and stuff like that. You give everyone eight weeks, which is like, it's a decent ask off of how long were we locked down? 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months out of the gym, you got 8 weeks to get back in shape and get in and do it. So you've just kind of got to throw everyone in together, and there is something kind of like a big pro style show is really cool, of course, but there's something kind of there's something like it's a different kind of cool to just see like everything on there together. I've always kind of like that. I think that's the sort of Siam to Sydney kind of style.
Yeah,
I guess
kind of vibe. Like,
yeah,
you can see the progressions.
Yeah, I love it though. I have been very vocal about my excitement for Diandra versus Yolo. I love both of them.
I'm pretty sure we've broken that fight down when it was previously announced.
Yeah, not that much has changed since the last time. I love it though. I see it as like a fascinating matchup.
Yes.
It's just one of those perfect matches. It's just a lot of kind of, I guess, unknowns about it. You've got Yolo's proven herself 10 times over, but a long layoff. We spoke with Yolo, very, very inspiring return from injury for her. And she did kind of have this opportunity robbed from her a little bit the first time, as they both did.
Yep.
And then you got Diandra's had quite a layoff as well.
Yeah.
As a lot of people.
Was the Tiff fight the last one?
No, she fought Jacinta Austin last
Yep.
February. I think would have been. I could be getting my dates wrong. I think that's it. I think that would have been the last one for her. So yeah, I think it's just I love that match of just kind of like it's the young up and comer looking to prove herself versus a truly elite level proven athlete in Yolo. So and I love the style match as well. I really like watching both of them fight. Two favourites of mine, really.
Definitely.
It's going to be tough to watch.
Save your dates. Save up your coin.
Yeah.
Buy the streams, or if you're in New South Wales, come to the show.
Yeah. If you can manage it, you should come to the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair
Same with Rebellion.
Of course. Yeah, that's it. Go for a bit of travel.
But that's the other announcement today, right? Cruz Briggs.
Oh,
Briggs versus Kim from PTJ.
Kim Dong-Wang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is the
like
first
it.
time that's Kim fought on Australian soil.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. This is another, I think Kim's kind of a rival on the Australian scene. It's kind of flown under the radar a little bit because it coincided directly with the lockdowns. He's had a couple of false starts, I think. He was going to fight Sarkis.
Yep.
And then he was going to fight Carter Lawrence, if I'm correct, on that ill-fated Siam to Sydney show.
It sounds familiar, but
I believe that was how it went. I don't know. All the fights melt together, but I think that was put together for the Siam to Sydney that didn't end up happening. That was going to be at SoCal and then was going to be at PTJ and then was going to have no crowd and it didn't happen at all the day before. Yeah, so he's had like a couple of matches sort of tentatively scheduled that didn't end up getting to go ahead. Cruz is a really good start. But if you're unfamiliar with Kim, he's fought at a very, very high level around Asia, has a lot of I believe it was based in Malaysia for a lot of his career. Has fought at a very, very high level on sort of MX, Top King World Series. He's fought some serious world beaters. So a very interesting addition to the Australian scene. And Cruz Briggs is fantastic, as we know. Haven't seen him fight in a couple of years as well. Opened his own gym since the last time we've seen him. Very heavy-handed. Really nice matchup. I think those two as like a main and a semi-main. That's it's like we say, like that's why it's so sick that this is going to be this kind of blended show that's going to have development day, going to have everything, because these are two elite level fights. I love it. Yeah, really looking forward to it. I'm excited to see Cruz. I'm just excited every time sort of someone I know from the scene gets to come back. I know a lot of these guys have had kind of heartbreakingly long layoffs at this point. Diandra and Yolo are both in that bracket for different reasons. Diandra, of course, for lockdown and Yolanda from the injury, but Cruz as well. 2 years out of a young person's career is really kind of heartbreaking to see. So I'm excited to see these guys get back in there and mix it up. Excited to see Kim kind of make his debut on the Australian scene. I'm hearing some some kind of tentatives for some other matches that should be really cool. So this is going to be, it's going to be a full lineup, a full pro lineup.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the coming weeks, Rebellion and Simon are going to release more matches. And like close to that day, we'll be doing a full breakdown of both cards. And like, looking very exciting.
Yeah.
So talking about action in Australia, let's cruise back to Destiny. That happened just very recently. So we did a breakdown before of Tonkin versus Matt Webb there. So how the fight panned out, was Tonkin took the win by TKO.
Yes, he did. I think this is a little bit of a... I watched this fight for... This is one of those, like, y'all must have forgot. You know what I mean? Like you watch Jay in kind of the first... Look, I think Jay, as we said, he's one of these guys that, like, it's easy to forget how good he is based on the level that he's been competing at. Like, there's not a lot of Australian fighters, not a lot of Western fighters that have kind of the rap sheet that Jay has, as far as like he's fought, like we talked about it the week before the fight, he's fought Chamak Tong, Saksurin, Singdam. Like, he's fought at like the truly elite of the elite level. So when you see him come back onto the Australian scene, like, I don't know, like, he's gone through his periods of times where he's not been in the hottest form and stuff like that. So maybe people start to write him off. But it's difficult to compare that level to, when you come back and kind of mix back in with the elite level within Australia. There is a difference in bracket, you know what I mean? And this was a good fight. Like, the first round was as we knew it would be. Matt Webb is one of the best guys that we have here in Australia. Like we did say, also maybe a guy who flies under the radar a little bit. This was a good battle early on. But, like, it was interesting to watch. These dudes kind of went, like, leg kick for like the first round. And they were bruising each other's legs up really bad. Like, it was one of those ones that you watch it and you're like, it was like one of those just like kind of, let's just stand here and see whose leg gives out first.
So it's like, that machismo, like, who's got the money.
Yeah, but then Jay made like a nice little tactical switch up and kind of started to switch stance a little bit and dive down for Matt's back leg. And then it's like you can half compete with one leg, but there's not a lot you can do with zero legs.
And then that back leg is like probably traditionally less conditioned than your lead leg.
Yeah, but Jay looks sharp. I mean, like I think there was a bit of questions about, a bit of mystery, I guess, about like where is he training and who's he training with. He's moved around a lot the last couple of years. For whatever reason. So I don't think even a lot of people kind of knew where he was or where he was based. So it was like, how's he going to look? I guess you never know when someone moves camp, especially when they move camp a few times. But he looked fit. He looked really fit. I think 72.5 is kind of Jay's weight. Like, he's a tank at 72.5.
Yeah, he's
like,
a spark plug.
Yeah, like I can see, like I've heard that he's kind of looked to fight a bit heavier in certain, like he's fought around kind of more the 74 mark and maybe would be willing to fight up to maybe super middleweight, where I think like he's not the tallest guy. So I think 72.5 I'm sure is quite a weight cut, an honest weight cut. But I think, that's probably where he's at his best. Big.
I think for like the opponents that are put in front of him in that kind of division, it's like, he's really kind of like lent into what his style is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it brings a lot of power to the table, and it's quite like a few like wild card tactics here. Like at one point he missed a kick and really, Matt Webb kind of evaded a kick, pulled his bum towards the ropes, and Jay followed through with like quite an explosive like sort of spinning back kick and dropped Matt Webb with it. That kind of almost like kung fu style, like, pushing, pushing almost like jumping back kick, like that sort of mule kick. And interesting, like to watch, he's pulling some little tricks out the back. It looked really painful. Dropped him clean for an 8 count. Jay ended up actually winning by the 3 knockdown rule in the 4th round. So cognitively, Matt Webb was okay. It was mostly the leg kicks taking him down. But yeah, 3 knockdowns in a round for a WBC title fight gets you the win. And really, like, he was dropped clean from low and body kicks 3 times. It was kind of, it was sort of done at that point. Yeah, he couldn't really stand anymore.
There's no can't take any more.
But yeah, a very good showing early by both boys. Tonkin just kind of made the adjustments necessary as the fight wore on to really start to the third round and onwards had started to run away with it. And yeah, capitalized very well whenever he had Matt Webb hurt. Good showing by Tonkin. It will be interesting to see what's next for him. Anyone you can think of that you'd
not too sure.
like to see Jay fight?
Like I'd probably like to see a James Honey rematch.
I'd like to see that too, and I think that's probably on the cards. Eruption hasn't happened since they last fought. The talk was they were just going to do that again right away. So I think that's a really good fight.
Yeah, and James Honey took the win on the short notice as well on the same weekend. Yeah,
should we hop over to? Oh, we'll touch on Jonathan Iulu, and then we'll hop over to Perth. All right,
one end of the country, the other.
Yeah. So Jonathan Iulu got the win. See, I want to say everyone's having a comeback fight. I know Iulu came back and fought Joe from SRG since he hurt his leg, but and hurt his knee against Pechuan, tore his ACL, I think.
Yes.
But so he's come back since then, but then everyone had a bit of a layoff again. I believe this was a rematch with Jonathan Tuhu. I'm sure they've fought before.
They live in the same kind of areas.
Yeah. It's good, strong showing by Jonathan Iulu. Just kind of a 3-round fight for the Destiny title. Did what he had to do. Jonathan Tuhu was sort of never really in this one.
Tough, but like always game, but yeah, levels.
Yeah. Iulu was a cut above in this fight. Hurt Tuhu really badly in the 3rd round. Just typical Jonathan Iulu. Very classy guy to watch. Big kicker. Got some nice hands. Measures distance really well. Awesome reactions. Just kind of paced Tuhu around the ring and pieced him up, to be honest. But yeah, good showing. Yeah,
it's like, Brad, that's most of the Destiny card there. There's other fights, but I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I haven't watched the whole thing super closely, but Lucy Deadman took the WBC title. She's really good. I like watching her. The rest I haven't watched in extreme detail.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So hopping over to Muay Thai Grand Prix in Perth there. So one of the big stories in that card especially was that the short notice fight that James Honey took against the ever game Lucas SAYER.
Lucas SAYER, who this year's been more of a gangster than
so take them all on.
Because I think Lucas's preferred weight is probably 72.5. I think that this is where he was matched for the title against Riley Anansis from Riddlers. That was a rematch. I know he can make 70. He fought 70 recently. So he's not a 70, not a super middleweight by any stretch of the imagination, but lost his opponent kind of 4 days before the fight. Riley had a neck injury. So, wishing him a speedy recovery. Of course, that can be a little bit grisly, I'm sure. Hopefully not too serious, but yeah, what a fair play to Darius and Gavin because they pulled together a pretty sick main event on a couple of days' notice, but relies a lot on both ends of the ring being gangsters, and that's what we got here. Because James Honey, I know he was going to fight on Infliction. That show went on up in Queensland over the weekend. His opponent had pulled out, I saw that, and jumped at the chance to go over and fill the main event. That's a flight as well.
It's a trek.
Yeah, it's a long way to go for a short notice fight like that. And, still made the weight on the short notice. And Lucas, of course, agreed to go up to 75 to make the fight happen. And I think it's worth calling out, Lucas was in quite a similar situation on the last Muay Thai Grand Prix where he ended up in a fight with Tyler Hardcastle. And in that fight, he cut a little bit extra to make that fight happen. I think he was matched at middleweight again, cut and met Tyler at 70. For this fight, did the opposite, went up and met James Honey, who's a big dude, at 75 kilos. And to put on a really good scrap, really high energy, high pace, good war. James Honey got the win. But yeah, fair play to both of those guys because that was just a wicked effort in fight is fight. I like it.
Fight is fight. Like Lucas saying, up for the award for anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, that's what it's got to be, right? Like I think Lucas came up short in a good competitive performance with James Honey. It's both fights, right? He's in both of these fights where he's been a gangster, he's come up short, but I think he gained more from that. Like I know he's definitely won some fans for just being someone in WA, especially who's going to make good fights happen and getting experience across a wide variety of weights against top end guys. That's what's going to make you better. I think like as much as anything, this kind of weird turbulent time for fights has shown that like you can't afford to be picky. Like, and that's what I think is gonna, as things reopen again, make way for a fun era of fights, is that people know they've got no time to waste and they can't be particular about when they fight or who they fight.
Yep.
It's just got to be, and that's the attitude. That's what I want to see.
Yep.
Is people that are just going to make it happen. I liked it. I liked the fight.
Yeah.
Really good scrap.
It's really good. Was there any other fights on Muay Thai Grand Prix that you remember? Because I tried to get the replay and Live Combat Sports. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it.
Let me pull up my notes. There's only a fair play as well to Darius and Gavin managed 4 shows this year.
For the whole lockdown,
which for 2021 is a lot of shows. They were good shows.
But like,
as well.
pretty much like, just you have to be Perth based only as well.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, Perth is, WA is definitely the best state.
Yeah.
To do like lock state shows, because you can do world class fights just with WA dudes. They've got some good ties on the scene for one, but also just like, especially at a point like WA had like some of the top guys in the world, winning weight. Like, remember, it's like a couple of the guys have retired now, but like the 63.5 kilo division, the last few years in WA has just been ridiculous.
Yeah, it's been great.
Lloyd Dean, Jordan Gottfredson, Roy Wills, like the list goes on and on and on. Of all dudes just within WA.
Yeah, just in there. The iron sharpens iron.
But yeah, the only other one really for me to call out from Muay Thai Grand Prix was Allegra Vickers versus Megan Burbrick. This was an interesting one. It was the final of the tournament, but Allegra actually lost her first round fight, but her opponent didn't make weight. So she progressed to fight Megan in the final, but then ended up winning the final over Megan. Yeah, dropped her early in the fight.
A plus B doesn't always
exist. Yeah, exactly right. So interesting. I'm a big fan of Megan's, so I was interested in that.
Yeah, she's been racking up a very solid career.
Yeah, putting it together well. It was a pity to not see Tiff Lamb in this tournament, because I am a big fan of hers as well. But always interesting tournaments are just no shortage of drama, right? Like, especially when you get like a spanner in the works like that, someone doesn't make weight.
Don't know. Yeah,
but it's crazy. Yeah, like you say, A
plus B doesn't equal.
It's like interesting to see that happen. Like I guess maybe you could be forgiven for thinking it was Megan's tournament when she goes on, she wins her way through the first round, but and then comes up short against someone who didn't make it through the first round. But that's how it goes sometimes. It's not always that simple, the math. So yeah, high drama. But that's kind of the other one. So congratulations, Allegra.
Nice. So let's go back over the Queensland. So a show that was on the same night as Destiny, so inflictions from there. And like same thing, like just like there's like heaps of storylines for like all of these shows from there. So this storyline, the main storyline for this show in particular was Chad Collins and the opponents that he eventually had to get, which was like Reese Lightning, I think maybe double dose, Jim. And he 85 kilo guy, which Chad was like 65 originally slated for. Yep. From there. And that fight went down. Chad won. Saw Reese's leg was pretty punished onto there. But it's like the story like going that, and as Chad was very vocal about it, was that where is everyone? It's what was the question that he was like putting out to the public.
Actually, I have a few things to say about this. I haven't seen the fight, to be honest. I can't watch 3 shows in one night. I only have 2 monitors. Maybe I need to upgrade again. Okay, so this fight comes together super short notice. Reese comes in. He's 20 kilos heavier than Chad. And like, okay, fair play, Chad. He wants to make his money. He's going to fight anyone. So he fights a dude 20 kilos heavier. But like, why is that allowed?
There's no combat.
Yeah, who's for like? This is our thing, right? Like Queensland. Queensland.
I love you, but
Like, I mean, I don't criticize any of the fighters involved. Reece said, look, if you want to fight, we can fight. And he came in.
Fighters are always going to fight no matter what, like whatever happens.
Yeah, why? But this is what I think. When I see these two dudes facing off at the scale, Reece weighed in at 86, I weighed in at 66 or whatever. Why the fuck did you even weigh them? Like, what are you trying to find out? You know what I mean? Like, what's a weigh in for?
Yep.
Right, to figure out that both guys are within a certain weight range. What range is it? 20 kilos? Like if Reece came in and weighed 100, would you have called the fight off? Like, I don't know. What weight was this sanctioned at? What are we doing here? I just, to me, yes. They made it happen. And of course, from a promotional standpoint as well, like Chad would have sold a lot of tickets. He's a popular guy. He's a very high level fighter. They needed to get him in there. I think he had 7 opponents all up after Max couldn't get in because of the border closures. And then, you know, so they're just looking through Queensland.
Most of the stuff was border stuff.
Yeah. But why can you match someone who weighs 80-something kilos? Because it makes you, like, really, like, when you look across that,
Comes to the sanctioning.
why'd you weigh anyone? If it's all just an eyeball test, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess they weighed him just to really, it became a little bit of a novelty, but
It's like what's that Thailand promotion circus? That fight
circus fight, yeah. That's on tonight actually, but like it's got like a good card.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like
less circusy.
yeah, like it's at Lumpini and there's like
okay.
2
Fair
Lumpini
enough.
titles and a WBC, but Dunkong fast fighting for a WBC world title.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the vibe there is. I think that's who's promoting it. But yeah, staying on task, I guess. Like I want to call out, I'm not criticizing any of the athletes because they made it happen, or the promoter actually, because
So, look,
they don't
you
want to
can-
refund
you
150
can do that. It's
tickets.
like, as a fighters, like they're gonna fight because that's how fighters are. Promotions, like, you know, I'll just put it out there.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it. But then it comes down to like, I don't know, what kind of standards do you have for sanctioning? Like, does whoever sanctions the fight, does this look good on you? Because like, 20 kilo guys, is this a thing we're going to do?
Yeah.
Is this like, you know, does this set a standard?
And also, like, I get it, you know, like there was 20 kilos between them, but like it was a fine fight to make. Like, no disrespect, like Reece wasn't carrying 20 kilos of lean muscle over Chad, to call a spade a spade. These dudes were the same size. Really. And you know, fair play to, you know, it's an ask to come in and fight a guy of Chad's level on a few days' notice. I have no criticism for that. I just don't get. I mean, look, I wasn't born yesterday. I've been here. I know what it's. I'm not like. I know what it's like in Queensland. There's no sanctioning and whatever. But I just feel like it just gets to the point where you go, how far can this go? Like, at what point does we have to step in and be like, we can't be doing this?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and then also, like, what's it going to look like if there was some horrid accident and someone was badly hurt, and then it gets to the press and it's like, well, actually, you know, these two dudes were nowhere near the same weight. Like, it's not really. I don't know. I question why we can do this still. Like, why there is just no one around at all, barring like formal sanctioning. It really kind of just shows you truly where it's at, like that you can do whatever you want.
I never really understood that, like, how come Queensland doesn't have one where every other state is one? Like, you know, in terms of like the government side of things, like where they just go, all right, like, you know, each state just kind of lives its own. That's that's the main thing I learned out of COVID, that each state doesn't actually work really with each other federally.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like Queensland just has its own. It just goes, you know what? You guys can figure it out. You can take care of yourselves. If you want to do lift weight, go for it. If you want guys to fight 20 kilos above weight, you know, from each other, I'm guessing you'll sort it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's something to be like to me, there's something shocking about watching that come together and being like, well, no one's going to step in here because who can? You know, like, and it really kind of shows you that a dangerous level of just responsibility for what happens the individual promoters have. And I'm not trying to criticize anyone. It's just more like kind of governance exists for a reason, and it's so we don't have kind of the freedom to do these things. Use the freedom if you have it. I just feel like it's kind of a dangerous.
I wonder if the narrative would have changed if Reece Lightman was absolutely jacked at 85.
But then I wonder, I guess that's where it comes down to as well, that it's like, I've talked to a lot of Queensland promoters and stuff, and they're like, we just need the trustworthy guys to be in the seat, and then we're okay, because we don't need to be. And that's how it's worked up there. Most of the promoters are pretty cool and pretty good. So the shows go off without a hitch, without being forced to do things by sanctioning. So I guess that's what it relies on, is like I say, we know making this fight, we weren't matching dudes that was starkly different frame sizes against each other. You know, just Reece hasn't fought in some time.
Yep.
I'm carrying a little bit of pudding. Chad was in shape to fight at quite a lightweight. I just don't, but I don't know. To me also, like, Chad was quite transparent as this was coming together, like, fighting's my job and I need to make the money, and that's why I'll just fight whoever it is. But like, I don't know if doing that kind of a fight does anything for anyone.
Yeah.
You know, for a guy who's fought at Chad's level.
It's a hard one. It's like, I get it. Like, you know, the man's got to make his money.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
I know.
Does it move you anywhere in terms of, like, you know, rankings or anything? No, not really.
For a dude who's knocked out Mongkon, like, the guy has that. They've got a laundry list of elite level opponents.
It's basically, you know, just the trader doing a cashy on the weekend.
That's just all
That's fair. Fair play to him.
And he's been busy there up in Queensland. I think coming to that, the question of where is everyone? Well, a lot of states can't. You're not only just look. Chad is a dude who's at such a high level that there's only a limited number of people he can fight within Australia. Isolate that further to just Queensland, and there's not a lot of guys that are. Look, I was seeing some of the names that he was getting matched with as replacements for Max, like just within Queensland. And fair play to them for stepping up, of course, but they were nowhere near his level. It's very difficult to make. I understand he's coming at it from the perspective of I need to get in there and make my money. But the reality is, like, when you're at the level that Chad is, there's not a lot of guys around to fight. That is, it's not like there's not heaps of other elite guys that have fought at, you know, ranked Rajadamnern fighters that are just running scared. Like, these dudes genuinely don't exist.
Yeah. Well, look, like, you know, like, I already see that he's already matched up again.
Yeah.
Like, you know, against Quinton Smith on Retribution show, I'm pretty sure. Like, and like, so, like, you know, life will go on from there. But it's like, yeah, like, you know, obviously want to see that Max match.
I want to see the match.
That's the match we want to see from there.
There's a lot of matches I want to see. I want to see the Max fight. I'd love to see River Daz fight.
Be interesting. Like, or like, I think Rivers said, like, he said he's got another boxing fight.
He's got another boxing fight, yeah.
Great.
Would be keen on. I know Chad, when he was much younger in his career before his Thailand stint, fought Sing Payak. They could run it back. That would be cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great fights, but the reality is the reason the Max fight fell apart was because, you know, travel has been difficult. When things open up properly as they are now, there's a lot of really exciting fights for Chad. Like, he fought, like, his first fight back against Ramesh, he had a bit of a statement showing against a really elite level guy at the weight. So, yeah, there's fights. It's just, you know, the time was not exactly right.
Time wasn't right for anyone.
Yeah. But it's just, yeah, been a pretty shit year.
Yeah, fair enough.
So a bit of a weird one in Queensland. I mean, I should watch that show in full. It's like, there's bare knuckle karate, I think.
Yeah.
And motocross.
Hey, I'll be down for that. Just like, you know, just watching this going, people, like, you know, just probably jumping over the ring. Fuck yeah, nice.
Yeah. Mixed bag of entertainment.
All right. So that goes local stuff from there. So you said there was a question.
There was a question.
What was the question and who was it from?
So Feud Fuck Year just put out a little bit of a discussion topic and asked that we touch on it. They want to know, like, from the community, is ring rust real? Is ring rust the real thing? And I got thinking a lot when they put that to me. I don't know what. It's an interesting question, right? Because I think, I mean, let's say what do we mean by ring rust? It's topical right now. So, like,
how would you term ring rust?
So when you've been out of the ring, out of competition, you know. Oh, I guess, I mean, it's also, there's a few layers to kind of unpack this from, because you can call it ring rust. To me, when I'm talking about ring rust, I'm talking about you've been out of the game altogether for a while. Yep. You haven't been training or not training properly. You haven't competed for some time. Ring rust, of course, can also mean that just for whatever reason you've been training the house down for a while and haven't been able to actually compete for a little bit, which is kind of different. But yeah, I'd say when you've been out of action for over 18 months is probably where you'd say it starts to be, because it's not like it's not an every weekend sport anyway. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, I guess it can like a ring rust. Getting into the topic a bit from there can be dependent. Like, I don't know how active the fighter was, because you get some people that are active every couple of months, and then you get like even top tier guys, like maybe more towards MMA or boxing, where they're only fighting like once a year.
Yeah, and that's an interesting kind of layer to add to it. Is, as you see in other combat sports, these guys are in, like an elite level boxer will fight twice a year. If you had me fight twice a year, I would say you're letting me get rusty. You know what I mean? So
I've forgotten how to do it.
But the other side of that, of course, is like, you know, in Muay Thai, this is a secret, but I'll let the community in on it. We don't make as much money as other combat sports. So
just
it's
enough for a sticky race.
Yeah, man, I'm down for that. But so like I think when you're in that kind of boxing kind of more system of like you fight, you rest entirely, you build your training camp back. Like, you know, your 9 to 5 is your training camp. It's a little bit easier. To, because, you know, you're working on sort of 12-week training camps anyway, right? So, like, you know, that's 3 months at a time out of the year. You fight twice a year. That's half the year already. And then negotiations and things take some time. So that's an interesting kind of dimension to put it at. But I guess, okay, so what do we call ring rust? So ring rust is being out of competition for longer than what you consider to be an optimal time, longer than usual, taking an extended break compared to what you usually do between competitive outings. Is it real? I mean, like, I think it's this is why it's interesting, because you watch the answers to a question such as this one and the fighters will all say no. And I think the trainers will maybe say yes. And that, I think, because it's like you ask the question, you ask me when I haven't fought in 2 years and I've got one coming up. Is ring rust real? I'm not going to say yes. What do you want me to like say? Yeah, it's real. I'm not going to go so well out there. No, you're just going to say.
Mindset's a very big thing.
Yeah, so you can't really believe in it when it's you. But like, I think we have enough evidence to say it can be real. I think it's okay. Look, if you ask me for a straight yes or no, is ring rust real? Yes. It is. Yeah.
I guess if you're looking at ring rust, like, you know, like you got to take fighters that have been out for a while and, like, you know, had the video evidence to kind of show like where they go. It's like, oh, remember he looks like this, and then you see him again, and then it goes, oh, he looks a little bit off balance, or he doesn't, you know, he doesn't look as sharp as he used to.
And like, I know this from like you take a couple of weeks off, and your timing's not quite where it was in sparring and stuff like that.
Very perishable skill.
Yeah, it's quick. Also, just kind of like that emotional kind of thing of when you get out in front of the lights and stuff like that. When you haven't, like, it's something that can become quite ingrained if you do it in short spurts. Like, I think sometimes when you get in a run, if you're staying healthy and you fight a lot, then you get to this kind of beautiful point of like not really giving a shit when you're walking out. Like you're like, okay, this is normal. Like, you walk through the lights and you do the announcement stuff. But then I think at the same time, like, ring rust is something that you can use to your advantage. I haven't had many extended breaks. I've been lucky. I've stayed healthy. And I've never really like elected to remove myself from competition for an extended period of time. I think my longest break ever was the last lockdown, and even that was only sort of 9 months or something. Like, it wasn't a crazy 9, maybe 10 months. It wasn't a crazy, but I felt for me, like, I had my first 20 fights in my first 2 years of competing. So like, I have I'm used to a busy cadence of competition, and you definitely can get to a period where almost like it's too familiar. Like, you don't have that. There's a sharpness that comes from being sort of shit scared and nervous, and that, like, I think when you fight a lot back to back to back, you almost kind of lose that to the point where there's an almost like something refreshing about kind of feeling it all like new again, and that new perspective that you get. But that's the mentality of making the ring rust. I mean, like, there's no way to say ring rust is good because it's not like a positive term. Like, oh, I'm lucky to be rusty, you know. But
this is going to give me a new opportunity to work on something.
Yeah, but I think a layoff can be a good thing if you have the, because if it's like anything in combat sports, if you're coming in going, this is going to negatively affect me, funnily enough, it will negatively affect you. You know, like if you go in, you're never going to go into a fight believing that you're rusty and not feel rusty.
Yeah.
So like, I think, you know, is it real? Yeah, there's definitely some potential benefits with the right approach to taking some additional time off. But also I think there are ways to train. You have to make considerations in your training to allow to kind of shake that ring rust. Like I know it's always, you know, you can open another can of worms on sort of hard sparring and things like that. Maybe if there's any place for a little bit of hard sparring, it's off of the back of a long break where you haven't had that feeling for a while. Not the feel, but just getting used to that tempo. Like, how are you going to work on your timing sort of slightly differently? How are you going to like, because I think when you're getting in the ring very regularly, you've kind of just got to like, you know, tick the boxes.
It's gotta it's generally with a lot of fighters. I just gotta be fit enough
to
do my stuff, and you already got your skill set. But I remember like Barry Robinson talking about something like a TED talk he listened to, like the benefit of sabbaticals.
Yeah,
so taking that little bit of extra time off so you can work on something new, and and like you said, refresh your mindset from there. But like but ring rust from there is like from there it's more so someone that like probably goes, I'm out of the game. And then, but then they took a sabbatical, and they sometimes you lose that feeling. And go, oh, I want to be in the gym, but then you get that feeling back. Yeah, and, it might take 2 years.
And fighting can like you can love it till you hate it for sure. And I think like there's plenty of examples. I've talked to many people that took long breaks, and they go, no, I'm feeling good. Yep. I'm feeling good coming back. I want to do it again, and that's very important. Because it can just. I think one of the most dangerous things for a fighter is to start just doing something. To be doing it just because it's what you do. And it's very easy to get there. Like, because when you just are in that period of you fight, you wait for the next one. And is it like, it's not a lot of time to take stock and be like, am I doing this because I'm really fucking fired up to do it? Yeah. Or am I just doing it because it's what I do? Because like, you'll find that like, you'll never elect to have a break because after one fight, you have a good showing and everyone wants to see you fight this guy, and you're just like, okay, that's what's coming together next. The offers never really, you get to a certain point where the offers don't stop, especially if you're at a busy weight. You can't like wait for breaks to present themselves. You have to be kind of putting your hand up, which you won't. So it's interesting like that. Yeah, I guess it's kind of a different topic of like, is there benefits to taking a layoff? Because some guys will swear there is no benefits to it. You should just be fighting. And I understand the logic. But yeah, you make a good point. I think what I would say is it's all about where your head's at. It's all about perspective. Because like if you have a layoff kind of forced upon you, like why do people deal with ring rust? A lot of time it's an injury. Something happens, especially in Muay Thai, something's happening in your life, your career outside of the ring that keeps you away. If you spend that whole time just thinking, shit, I'm not training the way I would want to train, or shit, I'm not competing, you're going to have that anxiety, and that doubt's going to be there kind of intrinsically, that contributes to ring rust. Or if you can just be like, okay, I can't fight for a little while, what can I do? And maybe if you're injured, you could be watching, studying a little bit differently, doing some teaching, something that just keeps your mind sharp and sharpens up your perspective, which ties into what you say about the benefits of sabbaticals. If you're approaching it from if you approach it from a productive standpoint of like, what's within you know my power to do right now, and how do I do it, then you'll probably come back kind of fresh. Whereas if you spend the whole time thinking about what you can't do and what you should be doing and what you're not doing, then you're probably going to deal with some ring rust by nature of the kind of anxiety that's coming from not being able to fight and compete. Yeah,
definitely. I guess, do you think of any fights in particular where ring rust looked apparent? Or like how if after a fighter talked about it, goes, man, that was fucking rusty. Yeah, it's like, it's ring rust feels real.
That's a good question. One will come to me. There's definitely plenty of examples.
I just kind of like stand out.
Yeah, I can't really pinpoint one that like one will probably come to me.
I can feel like an opposite one where you go like a person's probably been out for a while and then they come like, oh, looks like a good time. Like was it 2 versus Somrak?
Yeah,
It's like how long? Like he was out for a bit and like you see him goes, he doesn't look in top tier shape.
yeah, he just came in movie star somewhere. Yeah,
And it's like he looked like he didn't. Like he had the opposite effect. He didn't like he had too much ring rust at all. And
Yeah.
like, you know, he looked like he was having fun as well. I think that might be a big thing as well with the ring rust. Is like that. It's like when it gets hairy in there that you're okay with like the pressure, and then it kind of falls apart. But when you kind of take that kind of attitude, but I'm like, where it's like he's just having fun with it.
Yeah.
It's like just whatever goes. Like he looked good.
yeah. When a good MMA example, of course, is one of the best ever GSP. When he came back after a number of years and fought upper weight class against Michael Bisping, like looked excellent.
Yeah,
coming back.
definitely.
I think it ties back to what we started with as well. That it's like maybe if you have like a bit of a sabbatical, it's like when training becomes new and you have that almost like you're doing it because you want to do it, like you're grateful for the opportunity, that will help your training. Like your training starts to turn to shit when you're really just doing it because you have to.
Yes.
And it happens to everyone, I think. Like when you go do your knees on the back, fuck you, I don't want to. I want to go home. Like
After an hour and a half already, it's like
yeah, this is sort of crap. It's always going to get crap. I think like that's professional sports. But I think like once you get to that, you know, you take it away for a little while and you have to, you know, you want to do it and you regret all those times that you were grumpy about doing it. That's going to make you kind of come back in a little bit more fired up. I think, yeah, is ring rust real? Definitely, I would say. You know, and like
I've heard enough people say it.
yeah, and then like I think, but is it certain death? No. Like there's ways to make it. There's ways to make a layoff work for you. So I think, you know, ring rust is real, but a layoff does not have to mean rust, I guess, is probably my answer.
And I guess like coming up with like say Diandra versus Yolo, this is like probably a good good example to see.
Yeah.
Will there be ring rust? Will you see the girls when they come out and fight?
They should just agree to take the first 2 off flights to get a feel for it again.
It's like shake
yeah, just shake it out and just bounce around a little bit and then get going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also like I think around the world, wherever you are, if you're an athlete, you've probably dealt with some time away the last couple of years. You realise like you have to come up with ways to not get rusty. And like lockdown's the best example, right? Like I was one of these fighters that was just running the streets like endlessly. Like it gets old but you have to come up with a way. Like you have to come up with a way to like. I think if you spend a lot of time away, you know whether your head's still been in the game, and that's a massive difference. Like I thought this was like a big realization for me in both lockdowns was like keeping your head in the game. I don't know. I feel like if you know you'll get it, it's hard for me to explain. Like it's not going to keep you fit. You know, like only doing the work really keeps you physically fit, but there's a difference to when your head was in the game or whether it was not. Like when the lockdowns, you know, like I'd be watching a lot of fights and I started to have different kinds of conversations about fights with people because I think like I do. I was gonna say I don't watch a lot of fights, but I don't know if anyone's gonna believe. I do watch a lot of fights, but I think it becomes almost like a business as usual thing. Like you just watch them because they're on, and you have a podcast, and you probably have to watch the fights. But
their content.
Yeah, but also you just watch it. I my whole social media feed in anything is just fights. I watch them when they come up, and I'm interested in the results. But it's easy for that to become sort of just like you just do it because you do it. And like when there was no fights on, and also it's an energy thing. Like I often it's like the last thing I do in the night. I work, I go train, I come home, and that I'll watch some fights and then go sleep. It's my chosen entertainment. But like the energy of it, like when you're not training and you're kind of zoned in on watching these fights and you're really trying to pull something from it, but you see things through a different lens. And I know I started to have different kinds of conversations with people about fights because that was our sole focus. And there wasn't even any fights on. So we're watching old ones as well. Like, what about this and that? And stuff like that. And you can feel the difference getting back to training when your mind's been still kind of course you got to stay fit as you can. But I think like one of the biggest realizations for me in lockdown, which I only reference lockdown over and over because it's my best example of a layoff and some rust and stuff like that, was that like you have to just kind of accept, like for me it was always when lockdown started, because it was always 2 weeks at first and then becomes 2 years. But it was like, okay, I'm going to stay fit this whole lockdown. And you run in the streets and doing these stupid backyard workouts. And then you just hit a point once you realize it's not going to be over there. You're like, okay, I'm going to lose a step here, fitness-wise. And you kind of have to just like, I'll get anxious trying to stay fit because it's not happening. Like, no, it's not happening. I stayed pretty fit in lockdown.
I guess that's an experience and maturity thing as well. Just kind of like learning that like it's okay that you're not going to be that fit because like, you'll give yourself time to get fit again. But if you're trying to if you keep trying to hold yourself to the standard of what you were trying to do before,
you'll just get stressed, right? Because you think about like what's a normal day of training? 3 hours, pads with a professional trainer, like bag work, sparring with partners, clinching, all these things.
Can't replicate it.
You can't go and just do that in your backyard, especially when you're supposed to only be out of the house an hour a day and stuff like that.
Were you watching on the Instagram, was it Bao? Thai boxing, he's got like he had the jungle gym.
Yeah.
Try to make something like that. But
yeah. And look, like you can put a bag, in lockdowns, I'd put a bag up at my house and stuff like that. But the reality is that you can stay sharp. Like I did tons of shadow boxing in lockdown. But it's exactly what we're talking about is because, okay, can I stay? There's a difference between staying fit and staying in fight shape. You can stay fit in lockdown and you should. That's your job. Do your runs, do your workouts, do what's within your power to do. That'll keep you fit. That'll keep you at a good foundation for coming back. Can you stay fight ready? No. And like you can try and convince yourself you can and just disappoint yourself every single day, but you don't have the resources. And also like when you have no timeline on competition and no access to anything you have, like it's probably not in your best interest to try either. Nah. Like recovering and stuff. Look, the worst place you can be off of a 4-month break is having the time away from the ring, but no recovery whatsoever. And that's a risk I would run a lot because I was stupid in lockdown.
Yeah, you sent me your work. I'm doing this again.
Yeah,
cool. How are you feeling?
I don't regret it, but I wasn't smart. And then so then you can come back to training and have, you've fried as though you've been in the gym every single day, but you don't have the.
So you can feel as beat up as you were in the gym, but you can't you won't replicate the performance. That
Exactly. And then so like that's kind of a roundabout way of coming to the point that it's like you learn to be like, okay, how do I stay fit? How do I maintain? Do this and this. It's all right. Then how do I keep my head in the game? Because that's the other side of it. Because if you do too much, you're also just going to be like, eventually you're just going to hate it. Like it's just this, like lockdown's just this endless hamster wheel of like. When we're in training camp, or I know Muay Thai guys hate the term training camp. When you're in the gym, getting ready for a fight, you're working up towards the date. Yeah. Whereas like when there's no date, it's just like it's maybe it's good for your mental to just have to do it for you. But there comes a point where you got to realize you can't just do it endlessly with no end date in mind. But how do you keep your mind absorbed in the sport? And you do find like you get mental reps. I believe that's a real thing. I 100% believe that's a thing. It's just mental repping, thinking, and you watch a lot of fights, listen to a lot of different perspectives, that was the other thing about lockdown. You just talk to people. I'll just call people in. I talk to a lot of trainers and fighters on the phone in lockdown and just tell stories and hear their perspective, how you're keeping your head in it. And that's how you're going to find when you come back to training, you have a new enthusiasm, a new perspective. And that's how you're going to not get rusty. Again, I'm not saying like I'm perfect at doing that or it's easy to do. It's easier said than done. But to me, it's like, how do you kind of negate ring rust? It's like you keep your head in the game. It's your mind. Your body can go up and down, can fluctuate from levels of fitness. And I think it's never as hard as you think to get your body back in top condition, especially if you have a big career behind you. Like your muscle memory is legit. You'll get your body strong again, but has your mind been in the game? That's what's gonna decide whether you're. That's my take on it, anyway.
It's like so how we're seeing it from here. Ring rust is not so much physical, but it's like mental and almost emotional.
Emotional, yeah, 100% emotional, yeah. And then like I think the ones where we see the guys look the most rusty
coming
back is when like it turns out they didn't really want to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You kind
Like,
of see them in, like they kind of realize for the fuck, I shouldn't have been in here.
yeah, because I think it's hard to not be a fighter anymore.
It's like I didn't actually really want this.
Yeah, I missed, you know, maybe sometimes you miss being a fighter, but you don't miss fighting.
Yeah, it's like it's a good thing. Like, well, like kind of like that rest. Like, it wasn't so much the fight. Sometimes it's just the community. Like you just miss the community that's around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of probably the rustiest performances that you'll find maybe. But I think there's, to get it back to a more of a direct kind of ring rust conversation, that it's like there's a number of factors that contribute to it. It's like the length of the career that you've had. Like if you had 2 fights and you take 2 years off, I'd almost say you back to zero. Like much. Really, I think that's not that it's like an insurmountable task, but it's like, yeah, it's not enough. You haven't built up enough. You have 20 or 30 fights and you take 2 years off.
It's like, let's say it's like you're trying to build your muscles.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like you can build your muscles from there. The longer that you build, like, you know, there's less time you have to come back to kind of get back to the point.
Yeah.
But if you only train for a short time, you got those mass games very short. And then, like, you take the time off, you lose. Like, I lost my gains because you never really had them. You borrowed them.
Yeah.
You didn't put the reps in.
Yeah, and it's like, and then you go a level beyond. Like, you look at a Thai that's had 300 fights, he could probably come back after 10 years. You know
or you move to Australia and just have a nice little...
Yeah, but like you work with a Thai trainer that's not fought in many, many years, not even really trained properly. And that's a different thing. Like, they never seem to be unfit.
No, they're there. They're doing work.
The muscle memory is just too good that, like, you know, they won't train for years, but they can smash the pads for.
Yeah.
You know, they don't feel optimal, but they can go.
They'll go.
For 5 rounds or whatever.
They'll fight.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, because this muscle memory is legit. There's a different kind of muscle memory that comes with competing hundreds and hundreds of times. It's like,
that's right.
You know, you can't come up with a strength and conditioning regime that can mimic that. You know what I mean? Like muscle memories for real. So, yeah, to summarize, is ring rust real? I mean, like, you ask a yes or no question and you get 45 minutes of philosophical chatter from me. Is ring rust real? I'm going to say, like, if you ask me for a yes or no, I say yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
But also, it's not impossible to do it. It's not guaranteed.
It's like you can't. It's not irreversible.
Yeah, and I think, like, as we touch on, like, kind of getting into it a little bit, maybe there's benefits to taking time off, because I think that's the other thing about being like a Muay Thai fighter. You know, in the Western world, that it's like we are always trying to mimic the Thais, and oftentimes that attitude comes in. You should be fighting every few weeks, and honestly, more than not, I agree with that attitude. Like, I think you should be fighting as much as you can fight. But when I say as much as you can fight, as much as it's going to serve you to fight. Like, if you need a break, it's not the end of the world to take a break either. And sometimes it's beneficial.
Yeah, it's definitely like, you know, don't think less of yourself either.
Yeah.
Break either.
Yeah, and you see this a lot. Like, some guys are just better when they don't fight as much. Like, you see a lot of fighters in the Australian scene that don't seem to fight that often, but always look shithole when they do.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Because, like, it's about just acknowledging how you work best as well. Like, if you're really comfortable fighting 3 times a year, that's how you like to do it. Rest, enjoy your life for a while, couple of weeks to get back in the gym, ramp it back up. To me personally, I don't think you find that many examples of guys who get really good that didn't have a period of time where they fought heaps.
Built the reps.
Yeah. But then some guys just acknowledge that, like, fighting all the time's not their best way, and they'd rather do it the way that's going to. And again, with Muay Thai, we've got to manage careers and stuff like that, which is going to have an impact. But then on the other side of it, some guys are better when they fight all the time. They don't like to take a couple of months off. They just really feel better, you know, trying to treat it almost like the Thais doing it all the time. I think it's about everyone's way forward is different. Like, you can't really try to just like, oh, you should be fighting every 2 weeks or.
But everyone's journey is different.
Yeah, it's always going to be, and then what you're going to respond to best is going to be different. But at the same time, it's very difficult. It's difficult to get better at something without doing it.
Yes.
And I think that tends to prevail. And you look at most of the countries that produce really elite level fighters, a lot of activity is a part of that. Suppose you look at, like, some of the guys who've come over from the other side of the world, such as Max McVicker and George Mann, they fought over 100 times in their amateur careers. Probably a good reason why they're so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence to support that, like, more is better.
Yeah.
For combat sports.
But then as you get into more of a professional kind of format, you've got to start being a little bit strategic and things like that. So, Yeah, it's a lot of layers to the ring rust conversation, and it ties into a larger. I think I probably lumped that into a larger conversation about fight career activity. But yeah, is ring rust real? Probably. Thank you for the question.
Awesome, yeah.
Feud, fuck you.
Yeah, that's an awesome question from there, and it can, like I said, lead into other topics for other podcasts to cover. So, like, same thing. If there was more topics that you think we could delve into, get in those comments and let us know.
Yes, unless they suck.
Yeah, you can still write in there anyway. We just won't address them. That's all.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And I think that'll do our time for this week. Very nice. Okay. Yeah. So thanks again, Warriors of Mongkon.
Thank you.
Dope shirts.
Been
Always.
around. You getting around? You seen this on
Yeah, man, it's
Instagram?
good. That's
SRG.
good signs. I love it.
It's cool to see. I'm going back into SRG and PTJ because both featured on the original season
It's like
of Warriors. Yeah, and PTJ's in a whole different gym now.
Yes.
SRG in a very same physical gym, but very different place than when Warriors did their first season. So there's a lot of good updating to do, especially at this time when things are starting to pump. So yeah, really good to see them back on the road.
That's it. Awesome content, and they got awesome gear as well. So
yeah,
get
sweet
there,
gear.
buy some. Yeah.
Buy some, yeah.
All right. So and for us, remember to always like, subscribe, share the fucking episodes.
Please.
Okay. Yep. And we'll catch you next week.
See ya. Bye.